Eh, Recording in progress. That is always what I need and like to hear. This is Lynn Hamilton, your lead instructor over here at Samson Properties, to walk you through another tantalizing session of Master Your Marketing and Marketing Mastery. So in this series, we take a look at the various marketing pillars, tires, components, whatever you want to call it, and help you take a deeper dive into each individual topic with a different topic every week. So in today's session, we're going to be looking at first-time homebuyers. Subtitle is The Pipeline That Most Agents Ignore. So we're going to take a deep dive into that. I looked over my shoulder because I had it written down. I want to make sure I was reading it correctly and I didn't mess it up and mix up a word. So anyway, this is going to be a great session. I've got some new data for us, and it's like, it's going to give us a different approach as to how we look at it. So first-time home buyers and the pipeline that most agents ignore. So let's dive and take a deep dive head first right on into this topic. So let me just start by saying that I know a lot of times I've heard agents say, oh, well, first time buyers are too much problem. Really? Really? Okay, we're going to let that one go. But here's the benefit of it. First time home buyers are people, obviously, that are currently renting. So their next step would be to buy their first home. Notice I said first home. Typically, they are not buying their forever home. They're starting with what they can afford at this age and point in time, and they end up turning into 2, 3, or 4 more transactions down the road with them. I used to giggle and laugh when agents would also say, oh, I don't want to deal with renters. Well, tell that to the few people that decided, oh, yeah, they would take care of renters because nobody else wanted to, but turn those renters within a year or 2 years at the most into buyers. If I had a nickel for every time I've known of someone who has taken handling rentals, granted, they didn't make a whole lot on it right up front, but then ran with it, stayed in touch, developed it out, and were there and helped them buy their first time, those agents were often the number one agent in their office their second and third year in business because they focused on renters up front, didn't just leave them to the wayside, but literally worked the process to get them into buying within the next 12 to 18 months. Now, why do we say 12 to 18? Because oftentimes when they rent, they sign a 1-year lease. So it's not to their advantage yet to break that lease because, believe it or not, they still have to pay out the tail end of that lease, even if they opt to move. Now, again, sometimes they'll do that, but you know what? You just got to make sure that you are advising them correctly. So let's take a look at some fun numbers that I just calculated up. Now, I'm going to give you the gist of it, but you can, wherever you're at, whatever footprint area you are in, you can go into your own MLS and run some similar numbers or even ask, your chat GPT and see what range they come back with. And it's going to be surprising. Okay. So you ready? Hold your horses. Of the overall purchases that are made in the course of a year, it is guesstimated that about 21% of those buyers are first-time home buyers. About 21%. So you could, easily say 20 to 25% of whatever activity in your market is first-time home buyers. Now, the medium age of a first-time home buyer has actually gone up. It is between 35 and 40 years old. It is estimated that 86 to 88% of first-time home buyers will actually use a real estate agent. First-time home buyers will often search longer and will need more guidance, meaning more touch points and more relationship building. First-time home buyers are more likely to become a repeat client within 5 to 7 years. Why? They buy their first home. They don't buy their forever home. They don't buy their dream home. They buy their first home, start with a little bit of equity, and within 5 to 7 years, that home, wait for it, no longer meets their needs. And they need to sell and buy up. So if you are doing some calculations, first-time home buyers are a great niche to go after. And let's look at some more numbers. Now, I've asked specifically for the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, and Virginia footprint. There is an estimated 6+ million residents in this footprint. Roughly 30 to 35% are renters. I was going to do the math on that one and didn't. Thousands of renters transition into ownership annually. And I just shared with you a couple of other numbers that go along with that. All right, so what are some more of the benefits and the reasons of tapping into a first-time home buyer? Also, I'm gonna touch on real quick, what are some of the misconceptions that first-time home buyers have that you as a marketing strategy would address to overcome? So we're going to hit all these things as well. There is a misconception that first-time home buyers are low commission clients. No, they're not. There are also referral gold mines. You've heard the old saying, birds of a feather flock together. If they are in the price point of earnings and age bracket to be able to purchase, their friends in their circle are going to be in a similar situation. And the better you do at caring for that client before, during, and after the transaction, the more referable you will become. There you go. First-time home buyers, more than likely, always become move-up buyers. So you've got their buy up front, a few years later, 3, 5, 7 years later, it's a listing and a sales. There you go. They also know of oftentimes they have parents, by the way, newsflash. And often those parents can become clients or investors if they are looking at a second property. There you go. The agent who wins a first-time buyer and takes good care is setting themselves up for massive repeat and referral business. So what are some of the things that you would want to make sure you're doing in working with first-time home buyers? First off, I have a whole class on first-time home buyers. I have a whole class on doing first-time home buyer workshops. It can be, you call it a workshop, call it a seminar, call it, cheese and crackers, I don't care, call it whatever you want to call it. But the benefit of it is the more information you can provide, the stronger they're going to become. So your education or your marketing for this group is all about education. Oh, wait, let me just share a thought with you. Here at Sampson Properties, and for those that are with my friends on the side, if you need these, let me know. I'll send them to you. We have a library already here at Samson of free reports. Several of them are geared for first-time home buyers. If you are unaware of those, you can go into Samson or Cardinal Nest, search for free reports, and bada boom, bada bing, they will show up. Now, the other thing is if you go to my website, lynnhamilton.samsonproperties.net. Obviously, you know about the Agent Resource Center that I've built out for you guys. The tab to the right of it says Client Resource or Client Center or Resource Center or something. I can't remember. I think it was Resource Center. Go look at that. There's a drop down of free reports. There's a drop down of newsletters. Go take a look at it. The reason I have you going back to my site is because I want you to see what can be done on yours. Because if this old non-tacky gal can figure this out, I sure in the heck can walk you through it as well. But you want to create a resource center on your website. And if one of your pillars is first-time home buyers, I would have a drop-down box that says first-time home buyers. If you're doing estate liquidation, I would have a second tab, a second page on there for estate liquidation. If whatever your third pillar is and your fourth pillar, because we cover that in Jumpstart session 4, by the way, there are 24 options. You're going to pick, obviously your SOI is always going to be one, but what are the other 2, 3, or 1, 2, or 3 pillars you're going to add to build out your foundation of your business? You never want to put all your eggs in one basket. Never rely on just one. Recession-proof marketing. Thank you, Todd Bates. It broke my heart when I found out a couple of years ago he had passed away. That man taught me a ton in a 6-hour workshop. I went and implemented what he taught. I coached with him for a short time, and oh my gosh, turned my business on its heels as well. I had good momentum already going. This just catapulted me up. Todd was a hoot. I'm going to give him credit where credit is due, rest his soul. But he would pull no punches with you either, which I think is probably where I got some of my style from. Because if your marketing component that you sent over him to review was yucky, he would tell you, this is stupid, it's not going to work. And you just go, okay, so what does? But he would educate us along the way. So thank you, Todd. Thank you for touching my life. Thank you for touching everybody else's life. Your legacy lives on. But I've learned about recession-proof marketing as well. What are the things that happen nonstop, regardless of what the world is doing, the economy is doing, what interest rates are doing, that will cause people to need to buy or sell? There you go. And that's why I teach that to you guys. And in that component of Jumpstart Session 4, we covered the 24 options. I'm sorry, you're not doing them all. You're going to pick the ones that excite you on your worst day ever. You get out of bed, you stub your toe, you found out the cat just puked and you stepped in it, you slide, fall on your butt. Yeah, okay, you get the picture. What is your worst day? What are the pillars that you can get excited about on a bad day? Because that is business. It continues to go whether you stepped in the cat puke or not. All right, moving on. So in your focus of educating first-time home buyers in the consumer marketing component is those first-time home buyer seminars. Oh my God, I did them for years. And yes, I cried all the way to the bank most of the time, but they're great. And I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of what to do, what not to do, the strategy behind it, the science behind it, the logic behind it, the time frame, and what works, I mean, we just hand it to you on a silver platter, and you're not having to pay me the hundreds or thousands of dollars to give it to you. Another thing in the marketing / education to first-time home buyers is your social media posts. More than likely, that component are going to be on social media, whether it be LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We talked about that earlier, but most of those professionals that are in that income level and that age bracket are going to be more on your LinkedIn and your professional sites. Now, what is the message that often goes with them? A rent versus own calculation. I would actually, in fact, I had to do this. I need to create that flyer and have it in part. In fact, it is. It is in part of our free reports. Rent versus buy. In there, it has, if you're paying X amount in rent over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, what are you actually paying out and have nothing to show for it? We give you the taglines to use as well. So the free reports are there for you. In postcards under geofarming, again, if you're with Samson, go into Samson, into the Cardinal Nest. In the search box up there, put geofarming postcards, boom. There are 4 designed for renters. You repeat month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4. You come back around and repeat this one, this one, this one, this one. Come back around, repeat this one, this one, this one, this one. So for 12 months, you only need 4 cards because they may ignore it or overlook it the first time through, but because you're branding at the bottom of the postcard with your color, your brand, your logo, whatever, they know it's from you. So they may have missed it. And then they see the next one come in, the next one come in, the next one come in. Depending on where they are at in their lease cycle, it's going to up the odds. This is where I often laugh my head off when agents say, oh, I tried this once or twice and it didn't work. Okay, well, how many did you send out? Oh, about 30. Usually at that point, I'm on the floor laughing. It's a numbers game, people. Play by the rules or don't play at all. All right. So you want to get the right message that pertains to them. Did your landlord thank you for paying his or her mortgage? I'm just curious. Because guess what? You paid a mortgage. You're just not paying your own. Those are the messages that hit and dig deep. The calculation of rent versus own. If they're paying X amount in rent, what are they paying in 3, 5, 7 years? Usually that'll make them sick. I had an agent a while back that was doing the first time home buyer workshops. She was doing them consistently for a while. And somebody came and she did the calculation because that's part of the package, have them calculate out what they paid. She said, she swear to God, she called me later and she goes, I swear to God, Lynn, I thought I was going to have to call the paramedics in. The woman started hyperventilating when she realized the hundreds of thousands of dollars she had dumped in to somebody else's mortgage and didn't have squat to show for it. She said, needless to say, I had my lender of choice on the spot, and he was able to talk to her and find out, you know what? She was eligible to buy. There you go. All right. So it's educating. Often you can also let them know that a 20% down is not the only option. A lot of times lenders have time home buyer programs and packages available for them. You need to let them know that they don't have to have perfect credit. But if they're in a range, you want to partner with a lender who has and can give guidance and recommendations of what that person needs to do to up their FICO score if that is what's needed to be done. So there you go. Another message that goes well with it is they need to understand there's a lot of moving parts in a transaction, and their best interest needs to be protected, and they need to have someone representing them. And again, that's where the education comes in, and it comes back down to your job is to help educate the consumer on how the business of real estate works. There you go. Multiple times in my little calculation of obtaining information, it kept consistently saying that first-time home buyers become great long-term repeat and referral clients, because it does. One of the things that I used to do when I had my first-time home buyers, I remember I had a couple one time specifically comes to mind. when I asked them in the consultation, okay, so share with me your handyman skills. If I gave you a screwdriver and a hammer, a nail, and a screw, would you know which went with which? When they got done giggling and laughing, they said, oh, by the way, my dad is a general contractor. My brother-in-law does cabinets. This family member does this. This one does electrical. This one does plumbing. And I said, woo, happy days. Now, do you like them? Do they like you? Will they help you with sweat equity based off their skills and expertise? So if we find a house in a great area that you want that needs a little TLC, are they on board to help? Or are you guys on speaking terms? And of course, we had a couple giggles with that. Absolutely. So we bought, they lined up, not only their friends to help them come in, gutted the kitchen, gutted the bathrooms. They had family come in, doing all the work. Guess who provided them lunch or at least one meal every day for 5 or 6 days? Why? A, it was fun to see what they were doing. They had their entire pool of friends and family there. I absolutely, they didn't have a kitchen. They tore it up, tore it out. So I'm bringing them pizza or sandwiches or, make sure they had water or drinks or just even, I did a big snack container one day in a small laundry basket, probably, I'm going to say less than $20. But it gave them stuff to turn to. And yeah, I was the topic of conversation while they're doing the work. And I ended up picking up, I think, 2 or 3 additional transactions from that one because I was present. I was visible. I took care of them. I went above and beyond because I know so many agents, man, minute transactions open, man, they beelined it across state lines to someplace else. No, you nurture and take care of those. Payoff was grand. All right. This was a stat that I wanted to share. I mentioned earlier that first-time home buyers will often search longer. It is estimated that 10 to 12 weeks of searching on a first-time home buyer, because again, they're not always sure what they want or what they think they want. And this is where absolutely, hands down, no questions asked, a buyer consultation will be critical with a first-time home buyer, but you should do one every single time. If not, if you only do buyer or seller consultations sporadically, do not tell me about it because you are in, ready, violation of fair housing. Falls under discrimination. How did you decide who did and who didn't get one? Do not put yourself in that position. They get done every time, all the time. So especially on a first-time home buyer, when I go through the wants and needs with them, and it's one of the pages in the handout, and I ask them, why is that important? How do you see yourself using that space? Why is that important? What's your long-term plan here? Once I got that information, I was able to really customize the search a little bit better for them. Because again, they're working. They don't want to be taken every afternoon running around town seeing stuff that doesn't meet their needs because they gave me a general. I asked the questions to dig a little bit deeper. So I knew exactly how they were wanting to use that space so I could make sure that I'm going for the bullseye, not just a property that had an acre. With that, the better job you do with that and the follow-up, how did I do email? It's going to get their track laid out in front of them a little bit stronger, a little bit better. So you're not having them, running around not sure what they want. So again, you're helping them. And again, when we go see property, I would always tell them, okay, when we go out the first time, we're going to see 3 properties or 5 properties, whatever the time allotted. It's all about me. And they would kind of look at me kind of funny. And I said, nope, I want to know, did I get it? Did I hear you correctly? Did you even know what you wanted? But did I hear it correctly and did I nail it? I do not need to walk into a house and go, and here's the kitchen and here's your bathroom, because you're not that stupid. You can tell which is which. When we go in to preview homes, I'm going to be watching you. I want to see your reaction. Did I nail it or did I miss it? And if I missed it, we're going to take a step back and I'm going to find out why. Because my job is not to show you stuff that doesn't meet your needs. But if I missed it, I want to know why, which is why I ask those questions of how do you see yourself using that space? Why is that important to you? So that I can go for a bullseye and not drag you around town seeing stuff just to see stuff, because that's not good use of your time or mine. And they're like, love it. Okay. So again, you're providing above and beyond, and you're also providing them solid step by step what comes next. What is the next step? What is the next step after that? Once you got that done, what is our next step? What is our next step? You become next step obsessed in guiding, especially a first-time home buyer through the process, because they don't know. And your job is to be there to help them, guide them through that, and explain and answer their questions as they go. All right. Now, let's look at some averages. And again, average, highs, lows, everywhere in between. When I asked for some guidance on what is the average starter price point in certain areas, this is what I got back. Now, what I would do is I would go into your MLS based off the footprint in which you do or want to, zero in on that bullseye and look for those numbers of what has sold in the previous year, 2025 and 2024, and get a range there. What I found out when I did my little searches is in the DC inner suburbs area, and this is for condos and row houses, which is very common in that footprint, 450 to 600 is the starting point in that area. In suburb Maryland and the outer DC metro area, it's 500,000 to 650. In Northern Virginia, townhomes and entry detached options is the 550 to 725 range. So again, based on the footprint that you're in, if you are wanting to target first-time home buyers, you find out what is the starter point, either for condos, townhouses, or a first-time home in your footprint. Then you will talk to your lender, your preferred lender, and you will tell them that you are going to start working first-time home buyers. You want to know if they're interested in being engaging and partnering with you on that. If they have any brain whatsoever, they'll say yes, because they're looking long-term as well. And you want to ask them. So based off my research, I understand that 450 to 600 is the starter point in this footprint. Based on those numbers, what does a first-time home buyer need to have for either down payment, FICO score, and payment range? Now, again, we're talking range. So, but again, you can narrow it down even as far as 450 to 500 FICO score payment, 500 to 550 FICO score payment, 550 to 6 FICO score payment. Got me? Follow along? Give me a thumbs up. Say yes. I see it. Okay, good. All right. So now that you know that, curiosity will kick in. And you will say, okay, on a starting point of 450 to 500, and again, for this example, I am absolutely just making up a number just so you can follow the concept. No way, shape, or form am I saying these are correct numbers, but for the concept of it, I'm just going to use some examples. So let's say, for example, in a make-believe world, at 450 to 500, their payment would be $2,000. Again, just making this up. you're going to look at the areas that have rentals, and you're going to look to see what a rental in that footprint goes. Now, in some areas, rentals are sky high, and I have seen it more times than not. Well, when those numbers were run, a rent is $2,250 on an average, but yet a house payment, a mortgage payment, is $2,000. That renter doesn't know that. And when you've got those numbers, you can then do some of your marketing. Always use the estimate, the approximate, the could be. Never say it will be, because obviously it's very fluid and fluctuates. But one of the messages could be, and again, I've known agents who have done this, they would market a particular complex, and they knew that that complex was $2,250 a month in rent. Their marketing message would be, did you know that if you are paying over $2,100 in rent, you might be able to purchase in this footprint for about $2,000 a month payment, and then you have the parameters of what it is, because you want to make sure that they're not thinking, oh, good, I can buy $1 million home. Yeah, no, don't work that way. But you can use that as leverage. Now, case in point, story in point. Many moons ago, a big thing was for real estate agents to buy the marketing space on shopping carts. Remember who's old and remembers that? All right, you could buy the shopping carts, the spaces on the shopping carts. And this one agent all did this ego-driven, I am great, I am wonderful, I am number one in my office. He got nothing. So he was in a group with Todd that we were going through stuff. And so we said, okay, Todd says, let's do it this way. What's the rent? What's the house payment to be? It was, about a $200 a month difference. So he twisted his marketing message, same space, said, if you are paying, did you know, if you are paying more than $2,000 or $2,100 a month in rent, he did his homework because he knew what that complex was offering, you possibly could make your own mortgage payment and stop making the mortgage payment of your landlord. Want to know more? He would send them to his website for more information. It was scan the QR code to go to my website for more information before you call me. Before you call me. So it gave them the comfort zone to go get more information from his website, and he had bonus stuff on there. And he never said, call me now, because they're not ready to call you now. They wanted more information. That information enticed them now to come and talk to him and get more information. He nailed that area. He absolutely slayed it. But again, he was coming at it with an ego-driven marketing message up front. We nixed that, got him into a specialty with first-time home buyers in the particular area, and nailed it big time. The majority of them, because I tracked it for a couple of years. I'd follow up, and I said, okay, out of curiosity, how many of those, the first-time home buyers, have now 5 years later have sold and bought something else? It was well over 50%. Yes, he cried all the way to the bank. So don't poo-poo off first-time home buyers, but in the same token, know your numbers, know your stats, do a little research, work with a good qualified lender who can give you information, and build out this niche that most agents will ignore. Now, here's another little tidbit, tantalizing information for you. This is from the Northern Virginia housing market. So again, you can probably at some point figure out your own numbers and your own calculation. So whatever footprint you want to go into. In 2025, there was, and again, I'm going to say about or around 14,250 unit homes that were sold. If we do the calculation based off the other data we got, that about 21% of those buyers were first-time home buyers, that calculated, if my calculator did the correct math, there were 2,992 first-time home buyers in that footprint alone. Now, of almost 3,000, I'm going to lay you odds. If you did correct, pinpoint, bullseye, laser focused marketing, you could probably pick up a handful of those. You think? Give me a thumbs up if you think. Okay. So I thought those numbers were rather interesting and fascinating. And yeah, I got my little calculator out and did some calculations. But I think that's going to give you a really good understanding of the first-time home buyer market. So how can also you find them? You can go into your MLS and you run a search that in your MLS, there's one of the fields that says owner occupied. It's a little tiny box, usually off to the right-hand side. You find that where it says owner occupied, you tell it no. No, the owner is not living in that house. When it gives you the list back of the properties, that implies that the people that are in that property are renters. Now, if you know there's high-end apartment complexes or other areas that are, heavy in renters, go for it. So now you've identified the target, not at random sending out just, hey, you want to sell your house or you want to buy a house. So you're sending the right message to the right target and doing it consistently for at least 18 to 24 months or longer or forever. Because again, they may have just signed a lease and they're getting your postcard and you're going, oh, dang, well, we're not even anywhere close. We got a year's lease. Trash. Next one comes in. Interesting. Trash, because they can't do anything yet. Next one, interesting. Trash. Next one, interesting. Oh, we got 6 months left on our lease. Do we want to start looking into potentially buying? Because I'm paying a lot I'm paying somebody else's mortgage, and frankly, it's getting old. Then you are able to take that marketing component and expand it out with online quick webinars. You can record quick sessions and post it like I do up on my Listen and Learn channel. Those are recorded right here from Zoom. Nothing fancy smancy, but you're getting the information out. You can do, I'm going to say live, first-time homebuyer workshops online with a Zoom. Now, how do you market those? Obviously with a QR code, which you learn in Jumpstart Session 1, QR Code Monkey. And you put a little picture in the middle that says stop, rent versus buy or buyer's workshop information. Get it out and see, again, sometimes it's a gamble. You may get a lot of people that show up online or you may get nobody, but that's okay. You keep it consistent because they may have missed the first one, but if they know that every first Saturday of every month from 9 to 10, you're doing a first-time home buyer workshop, they can show up in their jammies, but they're going to get the information. And again, we've given you the absolute track to run on. All right, next, open houses. Depending on your footprint, depending on your price point of a first-time home buyer, those I'd be going after big time. Why? Because here at Samson, you get 200 free postcards that are sent out about an open house, correct? Shake your head this way. Okay. What some of my smart agents did when they learned to do the home buyer workshop, they combined the two. I was so proud of them. They took that postcard and divided it in half, either angle to angle, right, left, up, down. And so the first half was about the open house. The second part of that postcard was addressed, or a tagline about, are you ready to start paying your own mortgage and not somebody else's? Get additional information by scanning this QR code. And there you go. They took Samson sending out open house postcards to leverage it. So they also, because who do those postcards go to? Renters within the footprint of that open house. So they were killing two birds with one stone. I was so proud of them. And they would have the online homebuyer workshop literally either the evening of the open house or within the next day. So yeah, it took a little maneuvering to get it set up, but I'll tell you what, those that ran with that one nailed it. There you go. All right. So again, we've got all these pieces, but they all come together to support each other and make it definitely worth the while. All right. I am going to go over to my chat box real quick. I'm going to see if there's any questions that have popped up in there. This has been great coverage. Can we copy some of the resources? Absolutely. The question about any of the resources on my website? Absolutely. I'm an open book. And the same thing with the handouts we actually give you for the buyer and seller consultations and the renters consultation and the home buyers workshop. All of that is yours to customize. I just ask you take my picture and my name off. And I do remind you that because I had an agent one time, new agent I was in San Diego. I was her mentor and her coach, and I got her the home buyer workshop, or the home buyer, or the listing presentation. I said, don't forget to customize it. I mailed it to her. She got excited. Forgot to take my information off the front cover. She added the homeowner's name on there, the property address, the picture. I mean, just except for my information. So I knew she was out doing the presentation. Next day, I get a phone call from this woman that says, I enjoyed meeting you last night. You did a great presentation. I was super impressed with the marketing strategy you offer. We were going to interview another agent and decided not to. So we would like to hire you, to list our home. I immediately chuckled to myself because I knew exactly what had happened and who did it. So I said, not a problem. I've got a small team I work with. Let's, set up our next step. I got some options that would work for her. And I said, all right, let's go to the next step. And then I called the other agent and I said, so how'd your appointment go last night? I hear I did a really good job. And she goes, what? I said, yeah, I got a call from the lady. And she went, oh. I said, yeah, you forgot to take my information off, didn't you? And she goes, oh my God, yes, I did. So after we got done laughing profusely, not only did I go back to the house with the woman, and I said, we got to tap. So we covered it over. But it was funny. We did have a good giggle over it. Let's see, reading some of the other messages in here. Good information. I'm a 19-year-old kid with a good head on his shoulder. Last month, when he was asking a real estate agent about purchasing his first home. Yeah, sometimes they will start young, and kudos to them. And again, they are great ones to have under your wing and to guide them through. And again, there are some young folks that have started a business or have started working when they were in their teens and have saved and saved and saved and saved and saved. And there you go. All right. One of the other questions that was popped up in here was, do you have a recording of the first time homebuyer seminar? Yes, we certainly do. It is under the resources. I will go double check. If you want to email me, I'll make sure that it's up because we've rolled a few of them out to put fresh ones up. But yes, I will absolutely double check that it is there and ready to go. And again, it's a great thing to do. I did them for years, frankly, out of necessity. My friend and real estate partner, Carolyn, her and I used to do the bridal bazaar, and we got hundreds of contacts. We also, as a vendor, we paid to get the list. So the list may have had 1,000 to 1,500 brides that attended. Now, when you compare our service compared to any of the other vendors, they all had a time crunch on them. We didn't have a time crunch. So we had a list that could sustain for months or a year or more out. And we worked it carefully. And at first it was like, oh my God, what did we just get ourselves into? We talked to our coach and he said, let's teach you how to do first time home buyer workshops. That is going to put them through the funnel. And we nailed it. We understood that when we did the bridal bazaar, they were not coming looking for a real estate agent. They were coming looking for everything else. So we made sure that we handled it, a little bit differently. And there was skill to it. There was technique to it. But yeah, we nailed that one as well. And I will tell you, it's enough years have passed. I can get away with telling this story now. There would often be another real estate agent at the bridal bazaar, and they always had their big signs up. It was all ego marketing, BS stuff. And so we would go over and talk to them. So, you guys getting any good leads or, it's just kind of, brides aren't really looking for a real estate agent. So we would poo-poo them down. You're paying a lot of money for, not a lot of interest at the moment. And because they were looking for the immediate, buy. And so we just played into that and would encourage them that, this really isn't a good use of time and money. It's probably not a good investment to repeat after, over and over again. And they would agree. We never see them again. And we'd be back the next time. So we were bad. But you know what? They were missing the whole point to it. But yeah, we did fine. We did fine. Anyway, I can't believe I told you that, but we did. All right. So anyway, with that is going to wind down this particular class on first-time home buyers, where to find them, what to do with them, how to prep them, how to nurture them for long-term payoff. And this is a pipeline area that many agents ignore and overlook. So now you know more than the average agent out there does. And remember, I don't care what you know. I want to know what you're doing with what you know. If this appeals to you, take a step back, take a deep breath, re-listen to this, re-listen to the other class, re-listen to the home buyer seminar, just kind of put it all together in your brain. And you know what? If you need help, I will help map it out for you, map out your strategy, map out some great taglines. But so many of the tools that you will need are already created and developed for you. So with that, my friends, go be awesome. Go be wonderful. Make me proud. And I will see you in our next session. If you watch this on replay or any of the other sessions we do, it shows up through a YouTube link. Make sure that you subscribe and give it a thumbs up. That way, when I post next week, you'll get notification of a new post that's come up. All right. Go be wonderful. I will see you all soon.
Thank you, Lynn.
Bye.
Thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome. Bye for now.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.